This episode of Studies in Shadow contains graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Studies in Shadow, the 13th episode actually. I am your host, Jack Rogers, and as always I am joined by the magnificent, fantastic, I already said magnificent.
Pull the thesaurus.
Fantastic, magical, Noah Basu.
13th episode, unlucky number 13. We here, we made it.
And it's late at night.
And now you're doomed for listening to it.
And I am getting over bronchitis, so...
Ain't nobody got time for that.
If you hear me clear my throat, it's because I'm trying not to die.
He'll try to turn away.
As you can tell, if I, raise my voice a little bit, it kind of just cuts out. So I have to keep it real down here. Oh, no, the day I got back from being sick from bronchitis in class, I was in my creative writing class, and I was just talking, and it was I can't even do it anymore, but it was literally Batman. People were like, hey,
do the voice.
Quote Batman. And I can't even remember what I said.
Rachel.
No, I told a joke. It was like, what did one orphan say to the other orphan? Get in the Batmobile, Robin.
Oh, that's so terrible.
And they're terrible. Like, oh, no.
Sadness.
So, don't mind me and my sultry voice tonight.
Oh.
Sorry, that was weird. I regret saying that.
Okay. Let's put a little disclaimer.
But anyway, this was the first day I was able to record with an actual voice, because it's been pretty much gone. We're recording this on a Wednesday. No, Thursday, instead of a Sunday, because on Sunday, I was in the urgent care and coughing up a storm. It was fantastic.
You were dead.
All right, enough about my health problems. What are we talking about tonight, Noah?
We are talking about scary underground tunnels. Specifically, the Catacombs of Paris.
And the London tombs.
Tell them, Jack.
I just did.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I was just emphasizing, tell him, Jack.
I can't even laugh.
I'm
it's
supposed to be the hype man.
Oh my gosh.
When I told someone what I was doing, they were like, so spooky tunnels? And I was like, okay, you're bringing it really down to a low level, but yes.
Spooky tunnels?
Spooky.
That's like being like, hell, that's just a hot place where there's mean people, right? No, that's Texas. I just came up with that. I have no idea about the people in Texas. I'm sorry if there's any Texas listeners. Dude,
Cassidy, stay.
Speaking of listeners, I got to tell you, man, we are reaching listeners in other countries.
Ooh.
Actually, not just on the Facebook page. I'm talking, where the frick is it? Hold on.
I promise this episode's going to be a scary one.
Oh, yeah.
For all those, I don't usually get chills. As he's looking this up, I will say this. I usually do not get chills when I look up scary things to read them. I did for this because it's very uncomfortable to find historical sources that are kind of irrefutable, and they come from very legit sources, and they talk about things. And that makes me very uncomfortable when a lot of really reliable things say the same thing, and it's really messed up.
So not only are we reaching other countries, but we've also had a spike in listens over the last week and a half. We've gone from 2, 3, 0 listens a day to 17, 20, 5, 16, 18, 1. I'm just wow, we're getting some pretty sweet spikes.
To that one person, thank you.
But here's the countries that we have. United States, obviously. France.
Oh, boy.
We got 4 listeners in France.
Ooh.
Canada.
Tell me.
Not as interesting. The UK.
We love you Canadians.
Okay, these last 2 blew my mind. Brazil.
Oh, what?
And the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Oh.
Right?
That's sick.
I told my dad that on the phone. He's like, Iran? What? I'm like, I don't know, man. He's like, I thought, there's a lot of censorship over there, so I don't know. I'm like, maybe they're just using VPNs, like we talked about before. And he's like, yeah, I know, but why would they do it in a different country? I'm like, that's what a VPN does.
Yeah, I'd like to think that it's different.
But anyway, I was just really excited about that, and I thought I'd share. So
no, that's awesome.
Consider it shared.
We're getting more scholars to study with.
Yes. Also, we are going to have an amazing Halloween special for you guys.
Oh, yes.
I'm not going to divulge any details yet.
It's going to be scary.
But it's going to be really cool. And Noah and I are going to do this together, hopefully. Hopefully we're going to be both available at the same time.
We will.
And we're going to record our experience, and we're going to come back to you.
In real time. We bought mics just for this.
No,
As in, like, we're going to record it while we're doing
Oh, I thought you were just going to, like, stream it live.
No. We're going to record it while we do this, and then, the day or two after when we record, we will have parts of what is said, what is heard, and stuff.
And then we'll narrate the rest.
Oh, yeah. So get ready to be spookified.
Spooky. Okay. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first? Should we rock, paper, scissors it?
Nah, you go first, Chief.
Okay.
Why?
Save best for last? Is that what you're doing?
I mean...
I'm just kidding.
People know about the catacombs in Paris. I'm just trying to keep this... Okay, how about this? How many dead bodies are in yours?
Where?
Lower number goes first.
Huh?
I said lower number goes first.
Okay,
Can I promise you won't have a bigger number than me?
I can tell you how many people were put in plague pits.
Oh, tell me that.
Okay. 1.5 million the first time, which was a third of the population, and then 100,000 lives the second time. And I'll tell you, they don't actually know how many are in the London tombs themselves, but there are approximately 150,000 just in plague pits, which I'll explain what plague pits are later. So they don't even know how many there are in the tombs because they're in the walls.
Yeah, that's messed up, dude.
Yep. So where did the other 1.5 million go?
Don't talk about that.
So who wins?
I do. You go first.
Dang it.
Let's talk about this 6.5 million plus that are
in the catacombs.
In the catacombs.
Is it just like way bigger? How do they know how many people are in there?
Because they moved all of those bodies within 2 years.
Okay, well, we still don't know how many are in the London tombs.
Because, they have, I found, legit pictures of manuscripts. And it's written in French, but they have, little tabs next to it that, be like, this is what this says in English, roughly.
Okay.
And it's, they literally, I'll explain it more, but you'll understand why they know how many, because they did it really well, but they buried them really poorly.
They didn't even keep track of these ones.
Oh.
They're just all in the walls, and anytime they do any sort of excavation, there's more.
To the French listeners, thank you for your ancestry for counting.
So we don't even know how many are in mine, but I'll go first anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so the London tombs. Now, I talked about the first time and the second time. What I was referring to was the Black Plague, the bubonic plague. It hit London... It hit the UK and London several times. Oh, yeah. And, I always thought that the bubonic plague was just a one-time thing.
Yeah,
one and done, and then it was over. No, it hit 300 years apart.
Wait, did it actually?
Yeah.
So which one is the time that we learn about in school?
Probably both. Because these are both really historically significant. The second one has a name, even though it has a smaller death number. Oh. Okay. So 2 waves of plague swept London and killed a ton of people each time. Okay, the first time was in the mid 1300s. It killed 1.5 million. You want to know the percentage of the population that was?
Probably 25%?
Nope, a third.
Oh.
That was a third of the population then.
Gosh.
So it killed a third of the people.
Of London? Or of the whole country?
I think it was just kind of the whole country.
Jeez.
But the second time was in 1665.
Good year.
So 300 years later. This one was called the Great Plague of London, or the Great London Plague, whatever. It was 100,000 lives. And that was 1/5 of the total people. So that's rough. And let's see. And then there was John Stowe, who was a surveyor. He approximated there to be around 150,000 just in plague pits alone. Yeah. Okay. And so the reason for these plague pits, imagine...
I feel like I know, but I don't want to.
Imagine people are dying faster than you can dig holes for each one. You would run out of space, right?
Yeah.
And people's faces and flesh is literally falling off their skin. And they're super...
Stop. Ew.
They're super contagious. And so they just dug massive holes and just... threw people in them.
I just I was going to puke just now, actually, thinking of that.
Weak stomach.
Didn't they light him on fire, too, or no? Is that just,
I think,
in
maybe.
the movies? That would be so gross.
I think they did.
Imagine the smell.
I heard something about that. So they're always finding new bodies, every time they break ground. So...
That's so gross.
Construction will start a site, dig into the earth a little bit, and they'll find, a dozen bodies or more. just all clumped together.
Is it like actually bodies, or
Yes.
is it like just pieces of like
No.
skeleton?
Skeletons.
Okay, I was like,
They're finding people buried. Okay.
that's so gross.
You know what that actually reminds me of? Is Savannah, Georgia. You want to know what the nickname of Savannah, Georgia is?
Zombieland?
The city built on its dead.
Oh, I've heard this. Okay, yeah.
I went down to Savannah, Georgia, and you know why that is? It's just because they were, I believe the history was they were slaves.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're not going to give them proper burials. So they just put them in the ground and buried them. And so same thing, construction. Every time they start, building something, start going into the ground, breaking up rock and stuff like that, it's just bodies.
So if you're from
that's a different
Georgia,
circumstance.
don't let your kids take a shovel in the backyard because
It's thought to be like one of the most haunted cities in the United States. And for darn good reason. I've been there and like stuff happened and it was really freaking cool. That's where I actually got my first EVP.
Ooh.
Yeah, I went to a place and I pulled out my recorder and like nobody else was around me. And I'm like, because I knew there was a certain spirit that was known to be there. And I was like, hello. I think her name was like Anna. Anna, if you're here, I would love to communicate with you. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. How did you die? And I got nothing, and I was like, okay. And I listened back to the recording. Guess what it said? Okay, so here's what it sounded like. Anna, we know that you died here. How did you die? A gun. And I was like, huh? I listened back to the recording. I was like, ah! And I like played it for my family. I'm like, do you hear that? They're like, yeah. I'm like, it's a whisper that says a gun. And that's such a weird thing to just hear. And nobody else was there. Anyway, I'm going way off track. But anyway, I was just thinking of bodies. But I must be super desensitized to this, man, because this doesn't even faze me. I'm not kidding. That's what that reminded me of.
Yeah.
Was, digging up and finding bodies. It's also like that movie Poltergeist. We didn't move the bodies, we moved the stuff. Not Poltergeist. Yeah, Poltergeist. We didn't move the bodies, we moved the tombstones. Your house was built on ancient burial ground. And she's like in the basement. And it's like flooded with muck, and then you see bodies float up. Did you know those were actual real skeletons?
I did not need to know that.
Yeah, no. So like you see the skeletons come up from the muck, and that's her real reaction.
Oh.
Because she didn't know that they were just going to come up and be real skeletons. Jeez. And they look gnarly too.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to go back to London Tombs now. I'm going on a crazy tangent. Okay. So we don't actually know how old the London Tombs are. By the way, they're like right under the London Bridge. And the London Bridge goes all the way back to ancient Rome. Because, that area was all Rome before. So that bridge has collapsed and been taken down, been conquered, destroyed, and rebuilt so many times. But that's how old it is. So these London tombs may not all even be plague pits. Just people from the plague. It might just be Roman people too.
Jeez.
Who knows? I have no idea how many people are dead in there. And that thought is the freakiest of all. But anyway, the London tombs now, as well as the London Bridge, have been turned into a Halloween experience, which I think is kind of irreverent, first of all.
Yeah.
They're profiting off of actual death. I mean, I understand dark tourism, wanting to go to places, but it's so cartoony. Like, they've dressed up the whole place as, like, they have, like, the Rome room, the doll room, and, anyway, I think it's really stupid that they did that. I thought they could just leave it alone and have guided tours. Mm-hmm. That would be really nice. But I understand, it's just walls. So construction for that started in 2007 because they hadn't been accessed in decades.
Yeah.
Imagine just being like, oh yeah, there's this massive tomb just under the London Bridge or in that area. It's been sealed for decades. We don't even know, like, we haven't explored that. We don't know what's in there. So construction's going in. They're like, drilling walls and stuff. Making space for hallways. They're just digging up bones left and right. And construction was super freaked out because all of a sudden
Wouldn't you be?
Not at all. Yes, I'd be freaked out. I'd never seen a dead body before. That would freak me out in real life, though. You've seen dead bodies. Mm-hmm. Because you did it. JK.
Wait, what?
You were in a very shady area. And so things started happening after they uncovered the bones, which I'm like, oh, that makes sense. They've disturbed the resting place. The very messy resting place, first of all. It kind of just like they're shoved in the walls. Some construction people just like left. They're like, nope. They noped out of there super hard. Stuff kept happening. They started to see specific apparitions. There's one of a little girl.
It's always a little girl.
I don't know. Little girls are freaky. Gosh.
Why are they little?
Because they're young. I don't know. I'm still of the mind that I don't think children can haunt. But anywho, there's these stories about this little girl who haunts, and then also this like shadow man who is seen at like in this one and like the Rome room, I think it is. The Roman room. Because you know it dates back to like ancient Rome, whatever. Mm-hmm. Or else it would have been super random. But there's also like clowns in there. I'm like, why are you putting clowns in a tomb? This doesn't make any sense. So let me actually read you the description of the London tombs from the London. It's called the London Bridge Experience, and the sister attraction is called the London Tombs Experience. Gotcha. This is what they say. Quote, London Tombs, situates beneath London Bridge, has a long history and a sinister past, which you will witness during the show. During the construction of the attraction in 2007, hundreds of bodies were uncovered from our very own on-site plague pit, as well as the living dead that scare. They had really bad punctuation in this. As well as the living dead that scare you on your journey. You never know who or what else lurks in the dark corners of the London tombs. And if you want to go see that or go on the website, it's called the LondonBridgeExperience.com. Mm-hmm. You can also, tell me you wouldn't want to do this. You can go on an overnight ghost hunt in the London tombs.
I'm going to take a hard pass.
You can go with a company called Haunted Happenings, which, by the way, if our show wasn't called Studies in Shadow, Haunted Happenings would be a cool name, too.
So would Stranger Things.
I know. They already took that one. So people are often reporting hearing dragging and banging noises where there should be none, and also people regularly see apparitions and shadow people. Throwback to episode 2, Ooh. Shadow people. So yeah, people leave the tombs a lot, and there's even staff that refuses to go in alone.
Yeah, I would refuse to go in alone.
Isn't that fantastic?
I'd be like, bye.
Okay, here's something I was thinking about. How are you not terrified of I don't know how this works. How are you not terrified of resurfacing the plague by going through a plague pit? Because people, like there's disease in ice. They'd be like, the glaciers are melting. There's a strain of the bubonic plague in one of the glaciers, apparently.
How do you know that?
I don't know. They're smarter than I am, so they're probably right.
Well, like the thing that I've like heard about that, because I used to like ask that question. I was like, well, why don't we die from the bubonic plague anymore? And it's kind of like one of those things where you have like those CDC places, and this isn't just like a movie thing. Like there are like, places that
Center for Disease Control.
Yeah, there's like, I don't know if it's the CDC necessarily, but there are places where like different countries, like these big industrialized countries like the United States, Russia, a bunch of different European countries, they experiment on, diseases, ancient diseases and stuff like that. And the whole place, no joke, not a fictional thing, is rigged that if anything goes wrong, it literally combusts immediately. It like lights itself on fire. Because it's so dangerous to have it. And they do that because like they develop tons of vaccines from it because they take parts of this, I don't know how they do it, but they like combat the strain and stuff like that. But then there's also like talk of like how it's like chemical warfare where like you can like if you're fighting a war, you can put like
throw a vial of the Black Plague at them.
No, you get one of the things that I was reading about was like how people would put like you put the Black Plague on blankets and you give it to refugees.
Oh, that's just like a copy of what freaking Columbus did.
Yeah, that's like the thing nowadays. It's like technically it's like biological warfare. That's like it's against the Geneva Convention because it had been done before.
Yeah.
And it was like, geez, like that's a thought people have.
But tell me this isn't just like a perfect freaking like horror movie.
It is.
Okay. Construction, okay. I'm not saying the people who run the London tombs are greedy, but for this plot purpose, I'm going to say they're greedy. Greedy people have this amazing idea to open this like catacomb tomb experience that was filled with bodies, and then they send in construction, much to the chagrin of I don't know who, some old woman, "Don't dig in there.
Gotta have that old
Something
woman.
bad will happen." You know, the foreboding old
Foreshadowing.
person that's
Yeah.
always in every movie. Mm-hmm. And construction workers go in, and they're digging up bodies, and then they start getting sick. And then they start dying. And then the plague spreads all over London.
The end.
And then it's just a movie of surviving the plague. Or maybe it's like a zombie movie. I could see that happening too. Just like this outbreak. But that would be horrible. But I could see that happening if you know, the bubonic plague can reside within bones and not necessarily deteriorate over the years. And I'm not a scientist. I know nothing about how disease, you know, sticks to bones or anything like that. Or even if it does. But that would be horrible. Like, that could end the world right there.
Yeah.
Do we even have a vaccine for the bubonic plague?
I'm pretty sure we do.
Really?
I'm pretty sure we do. We'll have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure that I've read.
I mean, that'd be nice.
I mean, that's like I said, we have it in different laboratories. Like,
Yeah.
I've read things about it. We have the bubonic plague strains, and they do all kinds of experiments on it. And from what I understand, they've got smallpox, every kind of disease you can think of, polio, you know.
Yeah, but
And they develop strains of
one gives you
vaccines.
bumps and you die, and one you can't walk and you eventually die. Your flesh falls off your body like a
yeah.
really, really tender chicken wing.
We talked about a disease that does that, dude, in one of our episodes.
We did?
Yeah, how your flesh peels easily.
I have no
What
recollection
episode?
of this.
I will find it and tell you in person.
Okay.
But we talked about this.
There's
'cause
also crocodile in Russia. It's the homemade drug. That's
Yeah.
zombie drug. Once you take it, you have 1 year to live and your flesh falls off your body. It's sweet. The high must be
Fantastic.
amazing.
But there's this disease that does that, and it makes your skin peel off, and it used to be a big thing, and now we have.
We're talking about the vampire one.
Yeah, there we go, and it's a real thing, and we have a cure for it. It's almost non-existent. It does exist in very, very poor countries, obviously, once in a freaking 10,000 blue moon kind of thing, but it does. There's vaccines for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Don't dig up dead bodies, folks.
That's pretty much most of the history I could find on the London tombs. You have no idea how hard it is to find stuff on the London tombs because it's all just freaking consumer attraction now.
So it's not even historical, basically.
I mean, it's super historical. But I wish there was a Wikipedia page.
Is there not even?
No.
What?
It just talks about the London tomb experience. It's strange things have been happening in there. I'm I don't care. Tell me about the history. I can find the strange things elsewhere.
Yeah.
I just want to know where this come from. You know where I found a lot of the stuff that I wrote down is the London Tomb Experience, on the website. A couple other websites that I forget to find, but they're .org websites, so they're kind of historical, but it was super hard to find just one thing. And then also freaking BuzzFeed Blue, because they do a whole 35-minute video. By the way, we should link that in our website because it's a super cool freaking episode.
We will. I will do that.
It's I forget the name of the episode, but
I'll
anyway,
find
they go into the London tombs. And nothing really happens, but it's super freaky, and you get to actually see the inside. And then you'll also see from the outside, they have this super dramatic door with this weird Wicked style green neon lettering, the London Tombs. I'm you are taking a piss on all the people who died here.
Everyone whose bodies
you are profiting from these people's death. What is wrong with you? They're tombs. They're not playhouse.
This might be a really dumb question, but I know that Ring Around the Rosie, that song, that nursery rhyme comes from the Black Plague.
Yeah.
Does London Bridge, that song, come from anything like that?
London Bridge is falling down, falling down. It probably
does
just
it come
has to
from
do
anything
with
the deaths and the tombs and stuff?
I imagine it just has to do with the London Bridges being destroyed several times.
Okay, I didn't know if there's any significance because Ring Around the Rosie, unless you know what it's talking about, Pocket Full of Posy, that's what the only thing they could breathe in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's if you don't know the reference, you just think it's a cute little rhyme. But if you do, you're oh, this is disgusting. I didn't know if there was any hidden, London Bridge, London Tomb kind of thing.
I mean, dark nursery rhymes aren't a new thing.
No.
All around the carpenter's block, the monkey chased the weasel. The monkey thought it was all in good fun. Pop goes the weasel. You're talking about an animal exploding, bro. Anywho, that's all I have about the London Tombs.
So gross.
All right, you're up.
Okay.
Catacombs.
Well, there was a lot more on the Catacombs. It was very easy to find
freaking
stuff.
lucky. I thought I would like this more because I'm oh, London's sweet.
Yeah.
I said you would like doing Parisian catacombs because I was like,
I
you
know
can speak French.
French family comes from there. Let's go.
Anywho, the stage is yours, sir.
I'm just kidding. Okay, Catacombs of of Paris. So I already said it holds the remains of more than 6 million people. That's a lot of bodies.
That's a lot of damage.
Oh my gosh. That's just one for the day.
I can't even laugh.
So the purpose of the catacombs, and it wasn't even called that at first. It was given that name.
It was the Catacombs.
No.
Sorry to our French listeners.
We love you. Make me more baguettes. I'm just kidding. I'm French too. My last name means kisses. It actually does.
Nice.
The purpose was to help because the city's cemeteries were literally overflowing with bodies.
I mean, same thing with London tombs.
Yeah. And so from 1774 to 1779,
America.
good time for us back then.
Go Marquis de
Bad time
Lafayette
for
too.
the London people. Anyway, love our London listeners, but except 4th of July. That's the one day, that's the one day we can say these things. Anyway, every night from 1774 to 1779, there were dozens and dozens and dozens of wagons filled to the brim with bodies.
I'm not dead yet.
Because whether they were like just people who had died or they were exhuming bodies, what they were doing is they wanted to get rid of it, whether it was because of rich people wanted to have like proper burials and they were just getting rid of like the poor people who were buried, or literally they were running out of space in so many places. There was a point in this time where there were literally dead bodies in the streets that they just left there because they couldn't put them anywhere else. So they like would leave piles in the road and then they'd be like, we're going to come get that tomorrow. And they would.
Were these people just dying of natural causes or was there disease involved? What's going on?
Yes and no. It wasn't anything like super significant if I recall. In terms of diseases, I mean, it was a bad time, but like it was natural causes and the fact that they just didn't design the cemeteries very well. That was the biggest thing that I could find, is that there was just a lacking of it and they just kept building. You know, Paris is huge and they just kept expanding and there's no room to do it.
Yeah.
And so they're like, what do we do? So
dig deeper.
Yeah. So they would just, you know, for almost 5 years, they would just every night just take bodies. They would dig up people's bodies and just throw them in a wagon, whether they've been buried for a day or buried for a decade or even longer, and just chuck them into these literally giant holes. And it was really sad because, as it says, I had a bunch of like journal entries from people who were like there and different accounts of different things from like historical records. Mm-hmm. And it talked about how, you know, it's the way the French put it back then, and like, you know, old French speaking, but it basically is there was no organization to the burials. And it talked about as how like people would back the carts piled with bodies up to these holes, unhitch the horses, and have 5 or 6 strong men just push the front up, and the bodies would just slide down.
Wait, what? Describe that again.
They would back the wagon up to these holes.
Oh!
Unhitch the horses.
And just do
guys in the front, 5 or 6 strong men, they just push up the front end so it would slide all the bodies into these holes.
I wonder if that's where they got the idea for a garbage truck.
Oh my god.
Because you go and they drive and the bed just
I know
rises.
what they do, Jack. Anyway, so, you know, at first it was just big mass graves, and then they realized, hey, we can. There's space under there. They found natural cave systems underneath Pelly, and so they just they decided to like expand those, and definitely it was like a good idea on their part because they just like. They found these caves, found a central location, and just kind of started branching out and stuff like that. But what do you do when you fill up all the body places in the catacombs?
You put them in hydrochloric acid and melt them.
You said it a minute ago.
Burn them.
No, you dig deeper.
Oh, dig deeper.
Yeah, and that's what they did. They dug deeper.
I always forget what I say.
This is a really messed up thing. So
go for it.
At first, a couple of things I'm going to say, just so y'all know, like, It's kind of uncomfortable and graphic. A couple of the things I'll say, just a forewarning. There are 10 recorded accounts that I could find, and 10 recorded accounts that I could find specifically of this, and these are from like I guess once again the records of people who were there. But you got to remember when the catacombs, they weren't even the catacombs. They were just like these big mass graves, basically. When they were first coming about and stuff like that, Paris, people lived, right around that area. Mm-hmm. It was just a thing. And, people had basements and stuff like that. And I found 10 recorded instances where basement walls would collapse in the basement.
No.
And piles of bodies would fill the basement.
That's a nightmare.
Because they would legit
the pressure would mount?
Yeah, because what they started doing is, this is like why, like, I know when people think of the catacombs, they think of how like decorative the skulls are and the bones are placed. It wasn't like that at first, folks. It was
the Gothic cathedral in Portugal.
Because it's like that now. They do that now as like a respectful thing. But guess what? That doesn't account for the first part of it. Because what they would do is they'd like come down, find an area, and be like, all right, dig. And they dig a whole spot, and they would just literally shove as many bodies in this thing as they could find, and then pack dirt on it.
So it's human Tetris.
Okay. And as just time would go on, whether it was like weather, whether it was moisture and different things like that, it would just push against these walls, and it wasn't like concrete like we have now. And bodies, people would wake up and go down into their basement and just see a pile of bodies, and that happened more than 10 times as far as I could find it. So just imagine that, walking into your basement right now and just going to get something from the freezer or something, and there's a pile of dead bodies in a hole, and they're like coming out of it. Mom, I can't sweep the basement. Why? There's like 30 dead bodies. Huh?
Yeah,
I would never be able to sleep again.
What?
I could never sleep again, man. Gosh, yeah. And this was obviously only for the people that live close to like the burial sites.
Yeah.
And so I said it was in like 1774 when this started. It wasn't until 1820 that the catacombs actually began to be organized. And there was a specific group of people who put it upon themselves to do that, and so they would go through and try to record things and stuff like that. Oh, by the way, that's how I was saying earlier, the whole recording thing, because they made like tallies, and they would write down the people's names from the tombstones as they put them in the carts to dump them. And so they had a list of names. There's a lot of people where it would just say like unknown, or they would just have like a number in the book, and that would be how if they didn't know who you were just a number that would put in there. But they kept pretty thorough records. That's how they can say there's like 6 million or more people in there, because they've done the research for it. But like I said, like you can go look up pictures of it and you'll see skulls and bones everywhere. It didn't look like that until 1820. It didn't even look like that in 1820. But people, basically the Paris government, they went down there and started trying to fix it and stuff like that. And I don't know if this is appropriate or not to say, but like the bones you see down there don't even make up a fourth of all the bodies, and there's miles of them, and it's like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah, there's that. I think it's a cathedral in like Portugal or Spain, and it's made of like 6 million monks. You go in, the chandeliers is made out of bones.
I've seen pictures of it, but I didn't know
and
it was
real. And the walls are those are real, yeah.
Oh, ew.
They're all monks.
Good guys.
Yeah.
Monks are cool.
So they did that like out of respect, actually.
Yeah, I just bury me. Or burn the bones. Either way, just, I don't care. I'm not going to be here. I don't care what my body does. Just don't use it for stupid things.
Define stupid.
Like, don't freaking just throw it in a grave, or don't use it to see if, like,
I'm going to yeet you so hard 6 feet underground.
Don't see if rigor mortis is a thing. Don't see if I can swim still either.
What is that thing where the person has like the ball and chain? They have to swing it around and then throw it. In the Olympics.
I don't think it's a ball and chain, Jack. Is it? It's shot put, isn't it?
No, shot put is where you have the ball in your hand. You just throw it. I'm talking about the thing you swing around and then let go. I have not a clue,
but I know what you mean.
I'm going to do that with your foot and just swing you around, and the tombstone will be the backboard.
You're assuming you're going to live longer than me, I see. Okay.
I'm just saying if that's the case, and my back hasn't gone out yet.
A movie that I have seen that is about the Paris catacombs is called As Above, So Below.
Okay, I went on a date tonight, and we almost watched that.
Yeah, you would have known a little bit about it. From what I remember watching it, and it's a very scary movie, folks. It's obviously, they take a lot of fictional liberties with things. Obviously, it's a horror movie. It's just what's supposed to happen, but it's very scary. But it's very well worth the watch. And
is it in French?
No, it's in
Oh,
English.
that's
It was
disappointing.
They put it in. It was in a Hollywood. It was like in a premiere Hollywood thing.
Authenticity, man. Come on.
I guess I want to tell some scary stories.
Do
about
it, man.
the
Please. We have like 12 minutes left.
Okay. I don't care about the time. So, okay, these are the things that I just really looking at the notes. I really don't want them. They're just so uncomfortable. Okay.
Go for it, man. We can put a disclaimer.
Serious time. So, and these are, obviously you can take it with a grain of salt, but, it's up to you. Because a couple of these things, actually more than a couple of them, have dozens, if not hundreds, of historical kind of backings for it. The first one is kind of one of the more ones that can be kind of taken literally or not. There have been 5 different times in the last 30 years, I believe it was, going back to, where people would find cameras in the catacombs, in places that people hadn't and couldn't have been before. And all the videos on these cameras were the exact same. It's a video, well, it's a pitch black video. You can't see anything, you just hear. It's a man begging for his life in like ancient French dialect, like back in the day.
What?
Begging for his life for like 6 or 7 seconds, and then you just hear kind of like a low rumbling, and then it just cuts to black.
What was in like the walls? What was?
It's just, they just find cameras in places. And they don't know if people put them there as a joke or like if it's some kind of
Ancient French, man.
Yeah, I say ancient, I'm talking like 1800s or 1700s.
No, so.
But it's a dude like it's okay. I found one of the clips on YouTube. I wouldn't recommend it because I just freaking I understand a little bit of what he was saying, but like I don't know how it was back then with terms of like dialect and stuff. But they have like a transcript of it, and this wasn't just a guy like crying. This was a dude pleading, like screaming, like he was about to be killed, like how you would be screaming if you were locked in a room as it was flooding. Like that's what it sounded like. And it made me very uncomfortable. So I turned it off after 3 seconds because I was like, nope, I'm not dealing with this. So I just read a description of what it sounded like.
Nice.
People have no idea what those things are or why they're there. They don't know if it's been a joke from people, but it's happened 5 different times in 30 years. You need special permission to go into the catacombs after midnight. And obviously it's kind of like one of those ooh things. Mm-hmm. There are people, I forget exactly what they call them, but these aren't like secret agents or anything or historians. They're basically just people who get permission from like the people who from like the catacomb, like the people who like are in charge of the catacombs or the city of Paris, that they can go exploring after midnight, or they can go to places that
you were talking about them earlier.
Yeah, I can't remember what I called them, but they're not anything like special training. They're just really, really tough people who are really major risk takers. Like you said, dark tourism. Yeah. They're like a majority of them from what I've seen. Like there's like people on Instagram who post about stuff like that. And they're like kids who are from their like mid-20s to their mid-30s. And they go with a group of friends and they just start going and hours and hours and hours into the catacombs, finding these places. Anyway, there's lots of reasons that you're not allowed in the catacombs after midnight. Duh. But one of the many reasons is the voices of midnight. So,
ooh.
Yeah, that's what they're called. Within the catacombs at midnight, and this is, one of those myth kind of things, whether it's true or not, you can do your research and find out. You can hear voices in the walls.
Are they speaking French?
Uh-huh. They are speaking
French.
I'd be
like, and bro, I can't understand a thing you're saying. It's kind of hard to be scared.
Well, it sounds like
it's unnerving. It's very unnerving.
The way that one of these things the way that one of these articles I was reading described it is like hundreds of people whispering all at the same time talking through you. Like, imagine like that, but hundreds of different people, cool, men, women, children, all speaking French.
Nice.
And that's what they hear. And they say your name. And they encourage you to go deeper.
Jacques. Jacques.
No,
It's Jack, you French fry.
But for some reason, like, you can understand them, and they're like egging you on to go deeper. Like, oh, there's something up ahead. Nice. Anyway,
how do they know to egg me on if they don't speak English?
I don't know. Well, people say that you can understand them. I'm trying to make this scary, dude. People say they can understand them even if they don't speak French. They just they feel the pull, as they put it.
Interesting.
And the point is, they once again, this is just the myth. They make you want to go deeper and deeper until you can't find your way back out.
Wow.
And there is only one person who has, quote, survived the voices of midnight. And I'll explain that in a second, why that's kind of significant. I don't really understand it myself. But he was found 2 days after he went in, and his spouse was with him, and, like, she just was like, 1 minute he was there, the next minute he wasn't, and it was like 2 days later that they found him, and he was, like, literally hunkered up in a corner with, like, the backpack he was wearing in front of him, like a shield, just huddled up.
Was he, like, catatonic?
No, he was totally responsive. He just, like, they had to be very careful with the light, they said, because he'd been in pure darkness for 48 hours.
He was turning into a Falmer from Skyrim.
Yeah, and so he was very, very, like, aggressive about
or those
the
things
light.
from The Descent.
Yeah, but he wasn't, like, aggressive or demented or possessed or anything like that.
He was just terrified.
Yeah, he was just, like,
traumatized.
Yeah, he's like, I can't believe that somebody found me. Anyway, he said it just felt like it had been obviously in a traumatic experience it'd be like this, but he said it felt like it was 100 years he was down there.
Oh yeah, you can't see. You have no track of time.
Yeah, it talks about how he was like, he wouldn't let go of his wife because he was so happy to see her, and she's like, it's been 2 days, I'm glad you're okay. Like, and he was saying, like, how he missed her so much, he couldn't believe that he'd been so gone for so long, and it was just weird. People are like, I wonder if they distort time, and it's that whole thing, like, trauma makes you feel like time lasts a lot longer.
Bermuda Triangle type stuff.
Yeah, and what he says, this is the only person that has said this, because, and you'll see it in a second why they claim this. He said that after the voices, because people hear the voices a lot. Yeah. Like, anybody does. And so they just leave. But if you start listening, you think you're tough, and they, like, egg you on, like, oh, you're not brave enough to go. You go.
Nobody calls me chicken.
He says, once you're lost, all the voices started saying die in different languages. And it started off as, like, a quiet thing, but it built up to, like, all at the same time, like a chant getting louder and louder and louder.
Okay, I just got chill from that. Yeah, no, dude. I don't like that.
Yeah. And like hundreds of different... I got a chill.
Oh, I got another chill. Yeah. 2 in a row, man. So, okay, that hit hard.
Yeah, dude. The reason they say he was the... Yeah, dude, I got chills too.
Dude, I have goosebumps.
Look at my goosebumps, dude.
We both have goosebumps at the same time.
It's creepy. Anyway...
Oh, I just got a third one. What is happening?
Because it's freaky, dude.
Oh my gosh.
The reason that they say he's the only one that survived it is because there's been a number of instances. From what I could find, it was around 12 or 13, but they said it could be more. They said it could be less. There's just a bunch of different articles. That was the range I got, because one said there was 30, one said there was 4, a few of them said there was 10, 12, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to say 13 because it's the, like, middle ground between these 12 articles that I found. So, I'm just going to say 12 instances where people go into the catacombs, and they're not only found to have committed suicide, but they're found to have been dead in absolutely brutal ways. Like, people were trying to, like, kill themselves any way they can. And this is where the disclaimer comes in, because I'm going to talk about one of them really quick. They found a guy who had, like, apparently he was on his honeymoon. I don't know how true this part is, but apparently he was on his honeymoon, and he got lost, and his newlywed bride, was, like, kind of concerned because she kind of remembered where to go, so she got out, and they came back, like, a day later, or not even a day, like a couple hours later to find him, and he had killed himself by taking one of the bones that's like an arm. Look at your forearm. Imagine the bone that runs from your elbow to your wrist from the wall, and shove it through his own neck.
No!
Yeah. And they found gross. That. And there's been other things, like people would, like...
Yeah, we should put a disclaimer on this video.
Yeah. There's been a lot of really brutal ways that people have died. That was one of the gross ones. There's a few more things. I know we're almost at 45 minutes, but you'll be happy I said these things.
Good. Don't forget your Noah nugget of knowledge.
Oh, no, dude. You asked me at the end, dude. In 2004, this is something that has tons and tons of, like, facts about it and tons of stuff. That's actually kind of cool. Not the scariest, but kind of really interesting. In 2004, a group of police officers, they usually have like military or police officers explore parts of the catacombs they want to open up, restricted areas for the public access. So they began in 2004. These police officers, this large group of police officers, began discovering really strange things in these parts of the catacombs that nobody could have possibly gotten into. Apparently, they found a PA system with a pre-recorded guard dog sound of a guard dog barking. Then they found 3,000 square feet of galleries. They found wired phones with generators hooked up to them, like power generators.
Yeah.
They found TVs. They
Fun.
found couches. They found a bar. Like, they legit found a big...
Dude, I read about this because I
Yeah.
looked into both of them a little bit, and I
dude.
totally saw the thing about the full
Let
bar.
me finish this, dude. It was wild. They found literally like a lounge, a TV, and they had powers. And they said the room was large enough to fit 20 different people. They even had cinema seats. They had... This part's kind of weird, but there was like pictures of it I found. They carved their own seats in the walls. These people who were there. Like, it basically looked like a fancy like bar and grill, apparently, in these catacombs. Anyway, the creepiest part is that the cops that were down there, the police officers, they noticed there were cameras in the ceiling that were on and recording them. And they were like transmitting because they could see like the light was on. Yeah. So somebody was watching. So I just got to chill again from that. Look at my arm, my dude. Holy cow.
Nice.
That is creepy.
You got goose pimples, as they say in the UK.
That's creepy, man. This is the weirdest episode ever. So they leave because they're like, wow, this is wild. We got to go get reinforcements and stuff like that. And they come back a few days later with a larger team to investigate more and get things moving. Everything in there is gone. Everything is gone. Except there's this piece of paper nicely folded up, and it says open written on it in French, very fancy like. And it says ne cherchez pas or something like that. And it just means don't search. And it's written really fancy, don't search. And it's just sitting there in this dark room.
Huh.
And I'm just like, oh man, that's wild. So it's like people are like hiding down there or something. Then there's a story. This will be like a really short thing that I'll say. There's a story about how the Germans during World War II would use the catacombs, and they did that a lot, even before they occupied Paris and like during like the attacks and stuff like that. And there are several records from the German army that talk about soldiers not wanting to go down there, and like soldiers refusing to go back in there, and several soldiers going missing. Even though they would like board up areas, they would figure out the fastest possible route. Obviously, it's military. You want to figure out strategy, so they'd figure out the fastest possible route to get from, let's say, this church over to like the plaza, and it's like a mile walk, and they block out all the other entranceways and stuff like that in the catacombs. So it was just a straight shot. They had lights. If you go to the catacombs right now, you can see arrows on the walls like painted, and then words in German written like this way to church, this way to street that's named such and such. And 15 German soldiers went missing in the catacombs. A patrol did. Because they sent a patrol through once, and once again, there's nowhere else they could have gone because they boarded up and blocked out all the ways. And they were sent at like 4 in the morning to go by their leader or whatever, 15 soldiers, and once it's a straight shot, or it was a straight shot because there's nowhere else where they could go, and they never showed up. And so when they sent troops back in to find them, there's nothing. And they couldn't have gone out because people guard both entrances.
Bermuda tunnels.
Yeah. And so it's kind of scary because they never found them. And there was no signs of struggle or anything, no signs of boxes or anything being moved and stuff like that. But yeah, that's kind of creepy. And I guess the last thing I'm going to say is there's this French poem, I guess, that I found. I'm just going to read it in English. It's what they say to tourists. Wherever you eat, wherever you sleep, just remember that you're a few meters above the dead, and they're reaching.
Ooh.
And that's like for the whole city of Paris, since the whole thing is built on it. And I saw a picture, and it's very true. Like, there's these fancy like roads that you can drive on, just like a few meters down. Millions of dead bodies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that everything?
Yeah.
Jeez, all right.
Everything I felt appropriate to say.
What's your nugget of knowledge, and then we'll close out.
Ooh. Sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins.
How long can dolphins hold their breath?
10 minutes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Sloths slow their heart rate down so much they can hold it for 40 minutes. And that's your Noah nugget of knowledge for the day.
Thank you. Thank you, Noah.
You're welcome.
Guys, you can find Studies in Shadow on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and SoundCloud. You can also like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Username Studies in Shadow. Visit our new website at studiesinShadow.com. For all inquiries, you can send a message at studiesinShadow@gmail.com. Music composed and produced by Jack Rogers and Matthew Gonzalez. We thank you for listening, and we recommend you stay out of the basement tonight. You might not like what you find. This has been Studies in Shadow. Stay safe.